But before that, Maddie, you need to know, was played by Vanessa Redgrave in the film The Whistleblowers.
It is not just women that want peace, and it's not all women that want peace. And I always now go back to the idea of let's look at the gender relations and the power structures. There is a huge, huge divide between what women think of war and what men think of war. There is a nascent, inherent disgust for war amongst women, whereas there is not amongst men. Yes, we have a tremendously important role to play, but we have to understand that it is not necessarily just because we're women, but men have been the perpetrators of wars as a result of systems of power. We tend to have expectations of them beyond what is possible. The research has also shown that once you get past 25% empowerment over a period of time, it makes a difference. It makes a difference in people's perceptions that it becomes normal that you see women in positions of power. And that goes back to if there is a good, strong feminist movement, we will make changes. But we can't just say, oh, well, now we'll have a few strong women leaders, it will make a difference. No. So there's a huge amount of work to be done. And the other thing is, let us not forget the power structures that they are getting involved in. That basically grafting a few women into power structures which were never meant to include our voices is never going to make that change. It's the power structures themselves which have to be transformed. Everything is negotiable, and we should not be. And that's where I think that we really have to take the fight to. The way in which we construct men and how we force men into, they are forced into performing particular roles. The way we are forced into particular roles is all about gendered relations. If we can address that, then we will address militarism, changing the nature of their masculinities so that it is actually something more akin to what they would want. They have deeper relationships, greater friendships, they don't drink so much, they don't shoot each other so much, and they actually don't have such violent relationships with their partners. On the contrary, the women start liking them and actually want to have sex with them. They're nice. So the whole thing is a win-win situation for everybody. When they write the history of this last 2 centuries, they'll see how feminism grew and how we had to claim our own space in order to be able to have a voice that was united to critique the system that was ongoing. How do you do it as someone who lives and works in a society? I think is what we're doing right now, this conversation we're having, about engaging with men to be part of a transformation of the societies we live in. And that means looking at the political economy within the family, within the employment situations, within the entire structure of education and social welfare. So what we're actually looking at is public sector policy reform with budgetary allocations. And that's what we've got to fight for. You know, it's as banal and as boring as having to look at the budgets of who's allocating what and what your tax policy is. Unless we do that, we're not joining all the dots together. We're not actually having a comprehensive plan. We can't tackle militarism unless we tackle that. We can't tackle militarism unless we look at the amount of expenditure and how that eats into the systems that we need in order to provide for a greater equality. And one of the panels that I was moderating the other day, one of them, men were saying, well, yeah, we really want to engage in family life. That's what we want to do. But we live in countries where there's no paternity leave. So how can you on the one side say, oh yeah, we want men to be nice, but at the same time have laws which prevent them from actually engaging? So you're perpetuating this gender divide. So we have to find ways of doing that, and that, I think, will be the fundamental change that will come. And we still have to be strong ourselves. Who we're engaging with, what for, and then we can start looking at a transformation. But it's at all these levels. And there's not one simple answer, and that's why we have to have, we have to have all of us, the economists, the lawyers, the social policy makers, the anthropologists, the activists, all of us. And this is where it all comes together to make sure that we are solid in what we're doing and we don't divide and fight each other.